Half an hour and one cocktail later, Maya tugged Danny onto the dance floor. The music was loud, the bass vibrating through her chest. At first, Danny swayed stiffly, afraid of every glance. But then, Maya grabbed her hands and spun her around, laughing. Something inside Danny loosened. For the first time in years, she let go. She danced, really danced, hair swinging, dress flowing, laughter spilling from her lips. When she finally stumbled back to the booth, cheeks flushed, Sophie clapped her hands. "See? What did I tell you? You're a natural." But the real twist of the night came later. As Danny waited at the bar to order another drink, a man slid onto the stool beside her. Tall, sharp-suited, with an easy smile. "Hey," he said, tilting his glass toward her. "Haven't seen you around here before." Danny froze. No man had ever approached her like that before, not as Danny. She stammered, I don't go out much." "Well, you should," he said smoothly. "You light up the room." Her cheeks burned. She mumbled a quick thank you and hurried back to the booth, her heart racing. When Sophie saw her face, she raised an eyebrow. "Oh, someone got noticed." That night, as we lay in bed, Danny whispered, "Emily, a man flirted with me." I nodded, waiting. And for the first time, I didn't feel scared of it. I felt seen. Desired. Like I really was who I'm supposed to be. Her voice trembled with both wonder and fear. But what does that mean for us? The question hung heavy in the dark, unanswered. Because Danny's journey wasn't just about becoming herself anymore, it was about discovering what came next. The night out with Sophie's friends had changed something in Danny. She walked taller now, carried herself with a confidence that was both exhilarating and frightening to watch. But for me, it stirred questions I hadn't dared to face. Because while Danny was finally becoming herself, I was losing Daniel.it started subtly. Danny spent more evenings with Sophie and her friends, coming home late, her cheeks glowing with laughter. I was happy for her, truly. But I couldn't ignore the ache in my chest when I saw how alive she was with them in ways she rarely was with me. One night, as she slipped off her heels and flopped onto the couch, I asked softly, "Do you ever miss us? The way we used to be?" Her smile faltered. "Emily, I love you. You've been my anchor through everything. But the truth is, I don't miss Daniel. And maybe you shouldn't either." The words cut deep. Because part of me did miss Daniel, even if he had been lazy, selfish, and inattentive. At least he had been mine. The next weekend, Sophie invited Danny to a rooftop party. I offered to stay home, but Danny begged me to come along. "Please," she said, eyes shining. "I want you to see me, in my world now." So I went. The rooftop buzzed with music and city lights. Danny looked radiant in a silver dress, chatting easily with strangers who seemed to accept her without question. And then it happened. The same man from the bar, the one who had flirted with her, appeared again. "Danny," he said smoothly, kissing her hand, "you're even more stunning tonight." I watched Danny's cheeks flush, the same way they used to when I complimented her. My stomach twisted. Later that night, as we walked home, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Do you like him?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Danny froze. "Emily, be honest," I said. "Because when he looks at you, you light up." Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to hurt you. But when he looks at me, he sees Danny. Not a project. Not someone I used to be. Just me." The truth hung heavy between us. I realized then that Danny's journey wasn't just about transformation. It was about freedom. And freedom sometimes meant letting go. The next morning, Rachel stopped by. When I told her what happened, she listened carefully before saying, "Emily, maybe you need to stop holding on so tightly. Danny's not Daniel anymore. She's someone new. Maybe the best gift you can give her is the freedom to figure out where that takes her." Her words stung. But deep down, I knew she was right. And as Danny stood at the window, staring out at the city with longing in her eyes, I wondered if the greatest twist of all was still to come. The rooftop party had left a mark neither of us could ignore. Danny tried to move on as though nothing had happened, but I noticed the way she checked her phone more often, her smile flickering when a new message popped up. And when she thought I wasn't looking, she lingered in front of the mirror just a little longer, adjusting her hair, her lipstick point. One Thursday evening, I decided to surprise her by stopping by the bakery after work. I expected to see Danny behind the counter, flour on her cheek, and that proud glow she carried after serving a full day of customers. Instead, I saw him, the man from the rooftop, standing at the counter, leaning in close, his hand brushing Danny's as she passed him his order. Their eyes met for a moment too long. Danny blushed. He smiled. And I felt the ground beneath me shift. That night, after dinner, I asked quietly, "Who is he?" Danny froze. The silence stretched before she finally said, "His name is Adrian. He comes by sometimes. Just to talk." Talk. My voice cracked. She met my eyes, tears brimming. "Emily, he sees me. The way I've always wanted to be seen. Not as someone trying, not as someone changing, but as me." I wanted to scream, to demand she send him away. But instead, I whispered, "And what about us?" Danny reached for my hand. "You'll always be the person who saved me, who gave me the courage to be Danny. But what if I'm meant to love differently now?" I went to Rachel the next day, torn between anger and heartbreak. She listened, then said, "Emily, you've built a bridge for Danny to walk across. But bridges aren't meant to be homes. Sometimes, we're just the path to someone else's future." Her words cut like glass. But I knew they were true. That weekend, Adrian showed up at the bakery again. This time, he didn't order anything. He simply waited until Danny's shift ended. When she stepped outside, he offered his hand. "Dinner." Danny hesitated, glancing at me across the street where I waited by the car. Her eyes flickered with fear, with guilt, but also with yearning. And in that instant, I knew this was the line in the sand. If she took his hand, our marriage as I knew it was over. If she walked to me, there was still something left to save. Danny stood frozen for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, she whispered something to Adrian, shook her head, and walked toward me. But the look in her eyes told me this wasn't a victory. It was a postponement. Because Danny hadn't chosen me that night. She had only chosen not to choose yet. The silence between us after Adrian lingered like smoke after a fire, impossible to ignore, choking in its weight. Danny and I went about our days as though nothing had changed, but the air in the house was brittle, like glass ready to shatter. One evening, I found her in the bedroom, standing in front of the mirror in a new dress she hadn't shown me. Silver, elegant, shimmering under the lamp. "Where did you get that?" I asked softly. She turned, startled, then whispered, "Adrian bought it for me." The words landed like a blade to the chest. My hands trembled. "So this is it? You've already chosen him." Tears welled in her eyes. "Emily, I haven't chosen him. But I can't deny how it feels when he looks at me. He doesn't see Daniel. He doesn't see a husband trying to fit into something new. He sees Danny. Whole. Complete. And me?" My voice cracked. "What do I see?" Her lip quivered. "You see the person you rescued. The project you nurtured. The spouse you reshaped into something you could love. But Emily," she stepped closer, her voice breaking. "I'm not your project anymore. I'm just me. And I need to figure out what that means." The dam inside me broke. "I gave you everything," I cried. "When you were wasting away on that couch, I fought for us. I carried this house. I carried you. And now that you're finally alive again, you want to walk away." Danny sobbed. "I don't want to hurt you. You're my anchor. My beginning. But what if I'm meant to sail farther than you can follow?" Her words gutted me because they weren't cruel. They were honest. I sat on the edge of the bed, tears burning my face. "Then tell me, Danny. Right here, right now. Do you want to build a life with me, or do you want to see what's out there with him?" The silence stretched so long I thought I might collapse under it. Finally, Danny whispered, "I don't know." And that's the truth. It wasn't the answer I wanted. But it was the only one she could give. That weekend, I poured everything out to Rachel. She listened, her expression softer than I'd ever seen. "Emily, sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about stepping back. You gave Danny wings. But you can't clip them now just because you're afraid to lose her." I buried my face in my hands. "And if she flies away?" Rachel took my hand gently. Then you'll know you loved her enough to let her find herself. And that love will always be part of her, even if she doesn't stay. That night, Danny stood in the doorway of our bedroom, suitcase at her side. Emily, she whispered, voice trembling, I need time to figure out who I am and what I want. I don't know if I'll come back the same, but I promise you this, I'll never forget what you gave me. My chest ached, but I forced myself to nod. Then go, Danny. Find your truth. Just don't forget who loved you first. She stepped into the night, silver dress glimmering under the streetlight. And for the first time in 15 years, I was truly alone. The house felt unbearably quiet after Danny left. For days, I walked through rooms that echoed with her laughter, her humming while she cooked, the soft rustle of skirts in the hallway. At first, the silence felt like loss. But slowly, I realized it was also something else. Space. For the first time in years, I had space to breathe, to think about me. Weeks passed. Then, one morning, an envelope arrived. Danny's handwriting. Inside was a letter. Emily, I'm in Portland. Working at a cafe. People know me here only as Danny, and it feels like I've stepped into the skin I was always meant to wear. It's terrifying, but beautiful. I miss you. Not because I want to go back to what we had, but because you're the reason I got here. You'll always be my first chapter, even if my story keeps going without you. Tears blurred my vision. But for the first time, they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of pride. I leaned on Rachel, of course, but I also started to rediscover who I was. I joined a local hiking group, reconnected with old friends I'd pushed aside during years of struggle, even enrolled in a weekend art class I'd always dreamed about. For so long, I had been Daniel's wife, the caretaker, the rescuer. But slowly, I was becoming just Emily again. And that was enough. Months later, Danny and I crossed paths again. I was sitting at an outdoor cafe when I heard a voice behind me. Emily? I turned, and there she was. Radiant. Confident. Danny, but stronger, freer. She looked like she had stepped fully into herself. We hugged, and it wasn't painful. It was warm, gentle, like meeting an old friend you still love but no longer need to cling to. I'm proud of you, I whispered. She smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. I wouldn't be here without you. That night, I lay in bed and thought about everything. The years of struggle, the heartbreak, the transformation. Yes, I had lost a husband. But in the process, I had gained something unexpected. A stronger, braver friend in Danny. A clearer vision of myself. And the courage to start again. Because sometimes, love isn't about holding on forever. Sometimes, love is about letting go and trusting that both of you will soar higher apart than you ever could together. Months later, I opened my own little art studio downtown. On opening night, Rachel toasted me with champagne. And in the corner of the room, Danny slipped in quietly, wearing a flowing red dress. She didn't need to say anything. Her presence was enough. We caught each other's eye and smiled, not as spouses bound by the past, but as women who had walked through fire and emerged whole. Our stories were no longer one, but both were finally worth telling.